What I Did by Jason. This is a collection of the first three albums in a way, because they were originally um, released on self-published magazine that Jason had, like a fanzine. And this fanzine called Meow Meow or something like that. At some point, I'll be reviewing another book released by Fantagraphics that collects all short stories from that fanzine. It's called Pocket Full of Rain, and also has his first graphic novel in a way. But after that, Jason started to do longer stories, and these ones are the first ones that were collected by Fantagraphics on separate albums, also in France. One is called Hey Wait, the other is Shh, and The Iron Wagon. Now, these are out of print, and I could snap this one on my comic shop for $10. So the other ones are a little taller, the individual albums, but for $10, I just had to grab this one, especially because the other ones are a lot more expensive, one by one. And maybe at some point I have them, each album separately. So I don't want to spoil them too much, so I maybe just talk about the structure and what they are about, and the themes. Jason is a cartoonist, a Norwegian cartoonist, well known for this style that he has that uses dry humor. It's a little absurdist also, but in a lot of ways has a lot of feelings to his stories. He feels them with a lot of different kind of moods, and it's very surprising because his characters are always drawn like these anthropomorphic with animal heads, faces, and they are always these like inexpressive looking faces. So the way he mash all this up is really combines all these elements. It's like the really surprising aspect of him. Now, Hey Wait is a story about it's divided in two parts. The first one and the second one, of course, and they are around 30 something pages each. Now, the first one is the characters being kids, and the second one is the characters being adults. The story is basically about these kids, and one of them dies. I don't know if this is an autobiographic story, but it seems to a little bit, So it's a really sad story. It doesn't really have too much humor to it, maybe because it's a really, strong, hard topic, but it is really well done. You get to feel a lot of empathy from the characters. It's a really sad one. Now, Shh is a collection of 10 short stories, and these short stories are all more you never know when it's gonna be just stupid, funny, absurd, or like deep in a way, like really sad. For example, raising a child on your own, or having to deal with your wife's death, for example, but in a really surreal way. For example, we have this skeleton that comes to home, follows this character. Now, all the stories have the same protagonist, at least in appearance. It's like this bird guy. I wouldn't say he's the same character in all the stories. Is just drawn the same, and to me, it really doesn't matter if he is the same guy or he's not the same guy. It's more about what each story is about. I recommend it, and also it's called Shh because they are all silent stories. Like there's no dialogue at all. It's just drawings, so you have to pay attention to it. And again, they are really well told because Jason is a really good, really good cartoonist. He's able to, like dialogue doesn't really matter, it seems to him. So he tried to prove it, in this silent book. It's like 120 pages long, I think. Now, the Iron Wagon. This one is, we got a autobiographical story in a way with Hey Wait. We had the other experiment being making short stories and silent ones, and now we have this experiment. There is the Iron Wagon, and this one is an adaptation of a book from 1909, from the 1990s, a Norwegian novel, mystery novel, crime novel, and it's not the best Jason book, but if you already like Jason, it's a really cool way of seeing him, trying different stuff. It's Jason leathers all the English editions himself. Also, that's I watch photos of some French pages or Norwegian pages, and they all have the same font. Really cool aspect, I would say. So it's a mystery crime novel, so someone dies, and the story is about this detective coming to town, trying to solve the case, and it's not really an interesting case, but what does make the story interesting is that the reader maybe knows who the killer is. So the PI knows or says he knows who is the killer. And at some point he explains a lot of stuff, like a lot of text. For a Jason book, this one is a lot. And the funny thing about the story is that the detective being playful with the killer, like at some point he'll reveal like why who is the killer, who the killer is, and why he did it, and all that. But the funny aspect is like watching this detective just going from here to there, and the character is like, hey, you are going to solve the case or not? And he's like, I already solved it. And like trying to understand what's his play at this point, like the detective one, like how is he gonna catch the killer and prove it. That's basically it. I think this is this panel right here is like the cover for the trade paperback collection of the individual album. So again, this has no extra content, like every JSON book. It does not contain nothing. It contains this. I have this one, Pocket Full of Rain, Almost Silent. I am missing. I have the Hitler one, Left Bang Gang, the best JSON book. I would say this one really Hitchcockski. The Last Musketeer, I recently acquired it. Low Moon, Werewolf of Montpellier. I think this one is collected on Almost Silent. Like Hey Wait is collected and is collected on this book. So maybe I'll try to grab, on Almost Silent and maybe do a review on that and then continue with each JSON release. But for now, I recommend a lot this one. If you are interested, I would say this one is more a recommendation for JSON fans more than someone that hasn't read JSON at all. But I would say the more recommendable for anyone, it would be Shh, because it is silent coming, and there's not too much of that around. I would say Hey Wait, it's a really hard book to read on the themes, so maybe that one is for people, that feels not that well. And I would say also that the last one is just a recommendation for JSON fans because it's not the best one, and that's it. Like I would tell you to yes, grab What I Did by Jason, Fantagraphics, search for more stuff by him. One of the best cartoonists I ever read. To me, at least, that's my opinion about him. It was really a revelation. Maybe at some point I have every Jason book. But for now, I leave you with this one. Really good.